holidays. A truly wonderful time of the year filled with merriment, joy, Mariah Carey, you name it. And this year, I tried to find something different to do, something out of the norm of eating Christmas cookies and watching Home Alone. I decided to check out Violent Night, and boy, was I not disappointed. This isn't just going to be a review of Violent Night. No. This is going to be a review of what it's like to go to the movie theater and watch Santa Claus beat the living shit out of everyone. What's going on, guys? That guy right here with another movie review. I haven't done one of these in a while, and it's something that heading into 2023, I want to start doing more, but I felt inclined, I felt motivated more than ever to do this movie review for Violent Night, a film that I decided to check out because I wanted something different for the holidays. So I go to check out this film, and holy hell, holy hell, this film is really good. But if you haven't heard of Violent Night, I'm going to break it down for you, tell you what the film is about, tell you some of the things that I loved about it, some of the things that I didn't love, and my overall impressions of this movie. This is kind of unscripted, it's off the top, but I feel like reviews are more organic, more genuine that way. And so I didn't write anything down, I just kind of have my thoughts of, you know, feeling fresh in my mind from seeing this movie, and I'm just gonna kind of go off the top. So hopefully you enjoy. If you do, drop a like on this video, subscribe if you're new here, if you like the review, or if there's anything you'd like to see better in the future, let me know down in the comments below. But without further ado, let's get into the review. So the general synopsis of Violent Night goes like this. An elite team of mercenaries breaks into a family compound on Christmas Eve, taking everyone hostage inside. However, they aren't prepared for a surprise combatant. Santa Claus is on the grounds, and he's about to show why this Nick ain't no saint. And that's pretty much it. At the start of this film, we find Santa Claus kind of out of sorts, a little kind of beaten down a little bit emotionally. He's over Christmas. He feels like Christmas spirit is just at an all-time low. Kids don't believe anymore. He describes them as, you know, greedy munch monsters or something like that. And it felt very akin to, it felt like a little bit of Hopper came out of there, because if you didn't know, this film stars David Harbour, who obviously you probably know him from, you know, a little show called Stranger Things. You might even know him more recently from a film that one of the most recent films I saw him in was Black Widow. Yeah, David Harbour's he's been getting around recently a lot. He's an incredible actor. I really enjoyed him. So it's kind of the main reason why I decided to go check out this film, because I mean, I rave at the opportunity to see more of David Harbour, specifically as Santa Claus. I knew there was going to be a lot of badassery in this film, and he just, oh my God, he adds so much to it. So getting back on track here, Santa Claus at the beginning of this film is kind of disheveled. He's kind of beaten down, doesn't really feel like kids believe anymore. And at the end of his speech to another Santa who's probably working at a nearby mall, he says, you know what, this might be my last rodeo. This could potentially be my last ride. I don't want to do this anymore. And he makes his rounds, and he's going and delivering presents at people's houses. I gotta say, there's a good amount of comedy in this film. It isn't just action. It isn't just brutal. It has its brutality. I mean, it is rated R, but there are a lot of comedic moments in here that I was not expecting. I found myself laughing throughout this film, pretty much from start to finish. And so he's making his rounds through these houses, and he comes across this really wealthy family home, and he's delivering gifts in there. And ironically enough, he is enjoying the cookies and doing all the things that Santa Claus does. But he finds himself in the middle of, you know, he hears downstairs that there's a hostage situation going on. These mercenaries led by John Leguizamo is taking this family hostage. They got a lot of money, specifically held in a vault in their basement. Over $300 million this family has kept in their house. A terrible idea. But they have this money, and he's trying to get it. Everybody who was working this family event that they're doing, kind of a family gathering, everybody was working from the bartenders to the servers. They're all in on it. So, you know, this family's pretty outnumbered. And, you know, John Leguizamo's character trying to find a way to get inside this vault. And during so, Santa Claus is around the house trying to figure out, okay, what the hell am I going to do? He decides to get out of the house, and then has a change of heart, says, you know what? There's a little girl in here. She believes in Santa. She's on the nice list. I gotta help her. So he decides to leap into action and help her. And this is where the film you start to see some of the influences of this film. Very much so off the top, just from that description, you instantly think of Die Hard. And this film was almost Die Hard with Santa Claus, and I loved it. It's this guy who is kind of out of his depth. You know, he's at a disadvantage, but he's trying to find a way to help out where he can and save this family from this hostage situation. And so he's kind of scurrying around the house, going on the roof, going through the, you know, areas, taking on guys one by one, and just trying to make it. And it's probably some of the best moments is when he's doing these one-on-ones with a couple of the fighters, because not only is there humor there, but the action, the choreography is amazing. And yeah, it shows a different side to Santa. And you know, I'm going to get into that in a minute. This film was very akin to, I felt like there was influences of Die Hard, influences of Home Alone. There's some Home Alone instances that I couldn't help but feel like that was a direct reference to the film, or a direct reference to Die Hard, because these moments are so familiar to films that we've seen in the past. And that's what I think, that's where this film shines, in my opinion. I feel like its beauty is in the way that it takes a relatively familiar idea in Santa Claus and kind of incorporates some elements of cult classics like Die Hard and Home Alone, and puts a unique spin on it in a way that still makes it its own, right? I wouldn't say that this film is necessarily a carbon copy of other films, but I do feel like it takes the best of what we love about films like Die Hard and Home Alone and brings it in to a unique, interesting perspective. And I think that's where this film really shines. I loved it, man. I really did. I think, like I said, the fight scenes were incredible. I love some of the fight scenes. I loved, more than anything, I'd have to say that I loved the realism of this Santa Claus, because he isn't just out here dropping bodies left and right. This Santa Claus he's brutal, and he is real, and he is experiencing kind of the things that we all have experienced at some point, or experiencing now in our lives, where you're not feeling the Christmas spirit necessarily, or you're kind of just, you're feeling like people don't believe anymore, or you're just kind of feeling burnt out from your job. I'm sure you can find a many of influences or relatable moments in this to this Santa Claus that kind of we can relate to our own life. And so I love the relatability of this Santa Claus, and I won't spoil some elements or some backstory to Santa Claus, but just know that this Santa Claus has some of the dopest backstory I feel like we've ever learned of any Santa Claus. I found myself being like, wait, what? Like, it's really good. I'm gonna leave that for anybody who has seen it, but if you have seen it, please let me know what your thoughts were on Santa's backstory, because it's pretty badass. But moving on from there, there's not much that I can say about this film that I did not enjoy. I felt like the pacing was strong. I felt like Santa Claus, David Harbour, was great. What I loved about it was it still incorporates, as I said before, some of the familiar tropes that we've come to know and love. You know, the Christmas trees, the snow, the music, the families getting together, the dysfunctional families, the arguments, all the stuff that, you know, that makes the holidays, but still takes, you know, incorporates some past ideas and puts a unique take on it. I love it, man. And I love specifically how brutal this Santa Claus is. I don't know if a new film like this has existed in the past that takes kind of a edgier Santa Claus. I'm not sure if that is even a thing that's existed, but as far as I'm concerned, I've never seen anything like this before. So it felt very original to me. The villain itself was relatively lackluster. You know, like I said, a villain just out here to try to get some cash. I mean, it's not necessarily an original idea, but I mean, it doesn't have to be. You know, it's a film, it's an idea and a plot that is familiar, that we know about. You won't find yourself being like, oh my God, this is so unique in terms of the plot. But I don't think that's really where this film shines. It's the action, it's the brutality of this Santa Claus that I think is great, and still ends on a relatively you know, solid note, making us feel like Christmas. I love this film. It is now, I would argue that it's up there in a film that I think I kind of want to see every year, because it's just so badass. I found myself walking out of the theater kind of smiling and laughing at just how shocked I was that this film was as good as it was, because it really was something special. But yeah, that's all for me, guys. I wanted to put that out there. Seeing a film about a brutal Santa Claus, I think is something that I was not expecting this year, and it really, I don't know, watching this film really did put me in the holiday spirit. I think it was an incredible experience. So if you have not watched Violent Night, I highly recommend it. Take your family to see it on Christmas. It definitely is. It definitely remixes and mixes up your Christmas a little bit in a way that's really cool. But yeah, that's all for me, guys. If you did enjoy the content, you liked the mini review, please drop a like on this video, as it greatly helps out. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I would love to get in touch with you guys further, follow my socials, all that good YouTube stuff. But until then, thank you so much for watching and supporting the channel. My name is That Guy Rye, and I will see you in the next one.